I will start by introducing, sorry, the recording message. I'll start by introducing Dr. Avrum Gotlieb, who is the Program Director for the Masters of Health Sciences and Laboratory Medicine program. So Avrum, are you on the call? Your mic is muted currently, so if you can just unmute it.
I should get my video, I guess, up as well.
Yeah.
Okay, how do I can just advance it myself now?
No, I'll advance it for you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay, can you just go back then? Thanks. So thank you very much, everyone, for coming and learning a little bit about LMP and specifically our Master's of Health Sciences in Laboratory Medicine. And as well, I want to thank Natasha for organizing this. This is something that's been ongoing for a number of years. And of course, this year was quite a challenge. So that's really great that she was able to do this. So what is the Masters of Health Sciences in Laboratory Medicine? So let me just back up and really the purpose of my sort of brief discussion with you is really to get you to understand what we're talking about in this professional program. So the first thing is that it's a new program. We have our first cohort of students this year. It's a small program. There are 5 in the pathologist assistance field and 5 in the clinical embryologist field. It's a program at which, at the end of it, there is actually a job. So there is such a thing as a pathologist assistant, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And there is such a thing as a clinical embryologist. And as far as the clinical embryologists go, there is no program in Canada like this. It's the first one in Canada. And in fact, internationally, there are very few programs and even fewer that are doing a program similar to ours. And I'll explain that in a moment. And for pathologist assistants, there are 2 programs, very small in Canada. So we'll be adding quite a bit to the pool of pathologist assistants. So let's just go back. Sorry. So what is a pathologist assistant? It's someone who is trained in the healthcare field, and they contribute to the diagnostic services in anatomic pathology. So these are people who work very closely with pathologists, both surgical pathologists, autopsy pathologists, forensic pathologists, and their role is really to prepare the tissue and to decide what parts and pieces of the tissue are sampled so as to give that tissue to the pathologist to make the diagnosis. So the work of the pathologist assistant is critical. Without good pathologist assistants, the whole diagnostic service would be working very poorly. So it's a very important job. It's one that requires really very good training and strict training. You have to be well trained and you have to understand the job that you're doing. Beyond that, as folks were asking, what are we looking for? We're looking for individuals who really want to work in the healthcare field, want to work essentially with their hands, not necessarily in a research environment, but really in a true clinical environment. So most of our pathology assistants will be working in hospitals or in large laboratory facilities to do their work. The clinical embryologist is the same thing, except they're working in infertility clinics. And they too, their work is critical and essential because they are managing the material that's used for the fertility clinical activities. So they have to be very precise. They have to really understand what they're doing, and they have to be able to, as well, interact to some extent with folks who are using the services of the fertility clinic. Next. So what is our program goals? Well, we train pathologists, assistant, and clinical embryology professionals. So you are truly a professional. There are societies in both fields that have some regulatory activities, but primarily provide educational activities for people out in the field. So there's a group, a community of PAs and a community of CEs that once you leave our program, you would be joining. And we have very close ties with these groups. And in fact, for the CEs, just about a week or two ago, we had members of the executive of the Canadian Society come and talk to our CEs. So it's very important for us to provide our trainees with the feeling that from the moment they walk in, they're already in that particular field. And so we're going to teach you the scientific aspects, the societal underpinnings, and of course, the clinical competencies, the ability to carry out techniques in the pathology lab and or in the infertility lab and clinic. Next. And so the main objectives are to have graduates understand the scientific basis and to understand the research, because these fields are very dynamic in nature, and there's a continual improvement and new technologies that are coming into the field. And so you have to be able to assess them, to work with them, learn about them. We're looking for graduates who will achieve academic and applied skills to work very effectively in the discipline. And a lot of the characteristics that we're looking for is someone who is a problem solver, a critical scholar, someone who is innovative, who can provide leadership in the field. And what's very important in both these areas is to have a very strong moral and ethical background, because these particular areas are very sensitive, and we do train you and provide you with that education. And then we want you to become critical self-learners so that you can continue to learn after you leave us in our 2-year program. And as I said, the field of medicine and certainly PA and CE are moving rapidly towards precision medicine and patient-centered healthcare, and a lot of our courses are directed at that. And of course, we want to provide a valuable student experience. You'll hear from some of our student leaders in the department. Although the program is a small program, we have another professional program which has about 60 to 70 people, and our PhD, MSc PhD program has over 200 graduates. So you're joining a community that has a lot of students, and there are a lot of resources for students. Next, please. And just very quickly, the structure, so you can see there are a whole host of courses. The first set, both the PAs and the CEs take, and you can see biomedical ethics, biostats, research methods, cell and molecular biology. Next. And then the primary for the CEs, you can see a whole host of courses in reproductive technology and various aspects. And of course, human embryology, very important, and also genetics, especially the reproductive genetics, endocrinology, all those aspects leading to improvement in fertility. Next, please. And then the PAs, you can see there are two courses. They're fairly heavy courses because they're giving you a lot of organ-based and processes in terms of biology, pathobiology. And then you head into your practicums, which are done at the hospitals. And we have 5 teaching hospitals, which the students are spread out. So there's lots of opportunity to interact with PAs who are in practice, with faculty, with pathologists, etc. We also spend time at the Forensic Institute up north end of the city, again for a complete rotation. And then we also teach you about biobanking. Next, please. So why the Masters in Health Sciences? Again, if you are interested in working in the healthcare field, it's a very important part of the healthcare field. You're dealing with, on one hand, sick patients. On the other hand, patients who are coming to you for help to try to deal with their infertility problems. So there's a lot of satisfaction in working in these fields, because at the end of the day, you are actually helping lots of people. The faculty is a large faculty. We have over 300 faculty in the department. We're also closely linked to OBGYN, extensive mentorship, and lots of networking opportunities. So we want to make sure that people who leave our program understand the program well, have a lot of connections with folks, especially related to job prospects, etc. Next. And I certainly encourage you to speak to Brandon, who is our educational officer. He has a wealth of information. And I recommend everyone who is going to think about applying to the program is to speak to us beforehand, just to get a feel for what the program's about and to get some firsthand knowledge rather than just reading brochures. Thank you. Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you very much. So now I'll hand it over to Ryan Hibert, who again is a master's student in our department.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Gotlieb, for providing a great overview of the Masters in Health Science program and the tremendous opportunities that that program has to offer. Thank you, Brandon, for handing off the floor. Hello, everyone. I just want to introduce myself. My name is Ryan Hibert, and I am currently a master's candidate within the Department of Laboratory Medicine and Pathobiology, otherwise known as LMP. And I am the president of the Confederation of Laboratory Medicine and Pathobiology Students, which is the graduate student union here at LMP. So today, Brandon Wells and myself will be talking about the wonderful research opportunities within LMP. So first, we'll talk about what we do here at LMP. So the Department of Laboratory Medicine and Pathobiology focuses on being an interface between basic, translational, and clinical research, which investigates the molecular mechanisms of disease within a wide range of disciplines. And you can see below here some of the disciplines that we focus on. And furthermore, on the next slide, our department is uniquely positioned to incorporate fundamental research with clinical practice. And our department connects students with top clinicians and scientists within the healthcare industry. And the end goal of studying here at LMP is to produce laboratory results that positively impact real-world change within the medical community. So now I'll talk a little bit about student life here at LMP. And so LMP offers a diverse range of student services and activities to provide a comprehensive student experience And some of these include graduate professional development courses and programs, internship opportunities, conferences and seminars, and also a myriad of different clubs and unions for students to be able to get involved with. And so continuing on in the next slide, more about some student life. So LMP prioritizes having a strong sense of community and provides many different networking and career building opportunities. These opportunities include peer mentorship programs, community outreach programs, and much more. And so now we'll talk a little bit about many of the great research locations here that we have at LMP. And so LMP is located all across, or our research sites are located all across the beautiful city of Toronto, as well as some of the teaching hospitals that Dr. Gotlieb mentioned. There are over 200 extraordinary faculty members located at many of these different institutions. And you can see just a short list of some of the great institutions that are partnered here with LMP to be able to provide a great learning experience for all of the students within the department. And so now I'll talk about specifically some of the research programs or the research streams that we have at LMP. So the two programs I'll be highlighting are the PhD program and the Masters in Science program. And now I'll talk briefly about the admission requirements for both of these programs. So for both the Masters in Science and the PhD programs, applicants must demonstrate a strong academic background over the final 2 years of their undergraduate study, and strong research experience is always an asset. Now, I won't go through all of these specific details too much right now, but there will be more opportunities to learn about that at the LMP website, which you can visit, and there'll be information about that at the end of the slideshow. And so next, we'll talk a little bit about some of the great funding opportunities that we provide to the students. And so all research stream graduate students are fully funded throughout their studies, and the funding for the master's program is $20,545 plus funding to cover all the tuition and fees for the program. And then the funding for the PhD students is $22,828, again, plus funding to cover all of the tuition and fees for the program. And so now I'm excited to talk about some of the awesome scholarship opportunities that LMP has to offer. And so there are many award opportunities within LMP, and this is just a short list here that you see. And it is important to highlight that the Department of Laboratory Medicine and Pathobiology is one of the most successful and competitive departments for federal, provincial, and university-wide award competitions. And so next, we'll talk briefly about some of the coursework and requirements for the programs. And so LMP offers courses to augment the learning experience and develop skills to help students succeed in and after their graduate studies. Recently, LMP has also redesigned the program requirements for the PhD and the MSc programs by streamlining the course requirements to free up more time for students to focus on their research, which me as a student, I find absolutely awesome. LMP also has recently introduced modules in place of some courses to allow students to better cater to their required course, or better cater their required courses to their specific area of research. And so now finally, I'll talk about how to apply to these amazing programs. And so the applications to the Department of Laboratory Medicine and Pathobiology must be submitted by June 1st to the School of Graduate Studies. And they do have a great online application system, which is very easy to follow. If admitted into the department, it's important that students know that they will be required to secure an LMP graduate supervisor, or a principal investigator, as they're also referred to. And there is some great tools to help you find supervisors on the website. And again, this link right here is a link to more information on the admissions process and admission requirements. So I do encourage everyone to check out this link to a lot of great resources that you can learn about with regards to applying to the program. And so next, I will pass on the floor to Brandon Wells, and he will be talking more about some of the great undergraduate research programs that LMP has to offer. So thank you, Brandon.
Thank you very much, Ryan. That was beautifully said. And we appreciate you helping out with this as well. So I'll now talk a little bit about the undergraduate research opportunities in our department. So we've established a summer undergraduate research program, or for short, it's called SURE, which allows students following their first, second, or third year to participate in summer research in our department. So we really believe this is a great opportunity for students who are interested in research to kind of get a little bit of experience or just really test the waters in terms of researching before they decide to do graduate studies in any given field. So the SURE program isn't just kind of about the research. There's more opportunities that are beneficial to students. So we have a lot of opportunities to network with graduate students, postdoc faculty, and even staff. We have opportunities to learn about various different scientific careers. Like you can go into this program thinking you're interested in one topic and find 3 others that you really enjoy. It's good to kind of figure this out before starting grad school. So it's a great opportunity. You can kind of also plan out your next steps in your academic and post-academic career. So to be eligible for the SURE program, you have to have at least a B+ average in your undergraduate program up to the point in which you're applying to it. So if you apply after first year, obviously, like you need a first year average of a B+. After second year, like you need your first 2 years average, et cetera, et cetera. We also require students to secure a supervisor before applying. Now we have information on our website advising students how to kind of find a supervisor and giving them tips to help better secure a supervisor and improve their chances. These tip sheets can help both prospective graduate students as well as undergraduate students who are looking for research opportunities. So once you have a supervisor secured, you can submit an online application on our website. It's very easy to find. If you just go under undergrad, you'll see SURE program and all the information is there. We have a deadline of around March 2021. The exact date isn't established yet. Now this is a deadline if you want to be considered for awards in the SURE program, but we still accept applications up until the start date of the program. So the expectation of the program is we expect you to be working full-time in a lab within our department or one of the research sites of 12 weeks full-time. We'll also have an orientation session in May 2021, and you have to attend that. And we do have a research day at the end of the program where we give students an opportunity to present their research in front of faculty, graduate students, and staff. For the program, we offer students a $4,800 stipend provided by the supervisor, and there's also a number of competitive undergraduate awards that are available listed below. And again, to be considered for these awards, you have to apply by that deadline, which will be in March 2021. So again, I mentioned previously that this program isn't just about research. There's a bunch of other opportunities to improve yourself professionally as listed below. I won't elaborate too much on this because I know we're kind of short for time and you have a lot of questions. But again, we have like a bunch of information on all the supplementary opportunities our program provides. One thing we will mention though is mentorship. So there is a mentorship program which we're launching in collaborations with CLAMPS, whom Ryan, who just spoke, is the president of. And it's to help students with career choices as well as development. So a senior graduate student will be paired with groups of 3 to 4 LMP SURE program students, and they meet once a month just to kind of provide mentorship. Our department in general, we're really big on mentorship. Like we're developing a bunch of different programs for graduate students at the current time. But fortunately for undergrads, there already is options available. So to apply, again, the first step is to find a supervisor who has to be appointed at LMP. And we give a bunch of different tips to provide supervisors. So again, you have to have a supervisor first before submitting the form, then you complete the online application. I just wanted to also mention that we're really supportive of diversity, equity, and inclusion in our department. We established a committee called the WIDE Committee, which stands for Wellness, Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity. And we established it to promote and implement EDI initiatives in LMP. All students, postdoc, faculty, researchers, and staff are welcome to join. And the group meets regularly and is very active across the department. So again, if you have any questions about research, please feel free to contact myself or Ian Marquez, who is a graduate administrator for graduate matters. For undergraduate program, as well as the SURE program, please feel free to contact Luella DeCuna or Professor Jeffrey Lee. And again, our CLAMPS representatives, to contact for any questions about student life or mentorship in the department, feel free to contact us on clampslmp@gmail.com. So thank you. So now, students, if you have any questions, we'd be really happy to answer anything.
Yeah, just to let you know, you have until 2 o'clock.
Okay, sounds good. We still have some time.
So I do see some questions in the chat, and I'd be happy to read them out.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. We do have some support here from people in the chat. So we do thank everyone who came out and has enjoyed some of the great content that was shared. So reading on one of the first questions, this would be for Dr. Gotlieb. And it says, without this program, how do people become a pathologist's assistant? And this was asked from Lauren.
Yeah, sorry, Avrum, you're muted. Sorry. I've done it too earlier today.
Lauren, that's a great question. So up until the present time, it was an apprenticeship program. So there was no program. People just got a job in the hospital and they trained on the job. So they had no formal training and it was all sort of experiential. And this was not suitable. And that's why these PA programs have come into being. There's, I guess, about 15 or so in the US. And as I mentioned, there are 2 others, and now ours is a 3rd in Canada, to give actually a formal training at the graduate level. So today in Toronto, it would be very difficult and probably soon impossible to get a job as a PA if you didn't if you weren't a graduate of one of the university programs.
Thank you.
Awesome.
So the second question, I was just reading through the chat as well, and someone asked how come a strong performance in second year life sciences courses is a requirement. Now that just means kind of we expect you to have a strong performance in life sciences courses. The wording was a little bit misleading, but basically, yeah, we just need students to have to perform strong in life sciences.
Perfect. Yeah, and so the next question I think is probably a similar answer to what Brandon just alliterated with coming from Valerie, and she asked, what is considered a strong research background? So a strong research background is recommended, but it's not necessarily a steadfast requirement. And strong research backgrounds would be considered doing something like an undergraduate thesis, or even participating in something like the SURE program or other of the competitive awards. Having some kind of lab experience under an investigator would be considered having some strong research background. But again, I want to highlight that doesn't necessarily exclude you from any kind of admissions. It's just something that is definitely a plus. So anyone, like I do see another question later on about an individual talking about recommendations for mature students and that they don't have recent laboratory experience or research experience. That's completely fine. Part of the experience here at LMP is to be able to learn and grow within research and laboratory experience. So you don't necessarily have to worry about that. And now, so for the next question comes from Karash. And the question is, for admissions to masters, is the A- GPA the average of the last 2 years, or each year should be at least an A-? I believe Brandon and or Ian would be able to be suited for that.
I could help with that question. It's the admissions committee looks at your last 2 years, but they have access to your whole transcript. So the minimum requirements is an A-, but they'll look at everything such as your references, letter of intent, and your CV. So I wouldn't take stock on your GPA, but try and focus on your whole application.
Can I just make one comment?
Yeah, for sure.
So in terms of the marks, the other thing that the admissions committee look at is not just your total mark, but your marks in courses that are relevant to the program that you want to get into. So obviously, if you have good marks in things, but not very good marks in your basic sciences, that sort of sends up a red flag. And one wonders, you know, how you would do in a highly competitive basic science program.
Awesome. Thank you both, Ian and Dr. Gotlieb. We'll just go through briefly some more questions because I know we only have a couple of minutes. So Abrar asked about, is it okay if you don't have research experience in LMP but other fields of life sciences? Yes, that would be considered you know, good experience to have coming in. And then the next question would be for the LMP SURE program. But first, I just want to get to Isabel's question because it's really quick to answer. So it's, can you be a part of, can you be a graduate of a BSc and take part in the SURE program? So my understanding is that the SURE program would be for undergraduates in their first, second, and third year. But something that I will say is that for the NSERC USRA, I completed an NSERC USRA after I graduated in my fourth year. So I applied in my third year. I achieved the award, and then I got the research experience for the 4 months after I graduated. So if you do end up graduating and you pass the deadline for the SURE, you can pursue that as well. Final question here, and this is with regards to the SURE program coming from Angelo. For LMP SURE, are we restricted to the awards offered by U of T, or are we also able to use any external funding or external funding awards from other sources towards the summer research project?
Yeah, I think that should be fine. I know Professor Lee is the coordinator of the SURE program. He's unfortunately not here today, but I can't see why that would be a problem. Like, a lot of students do have funding from their supervisor that they can apply towards a project. I don't see any issue with it, but if you want, just send us an email. I'll type it in the chat and we can confirm it. Actually, you know what? If you send me privately your email in the chat, I will figure that out and respond to you shortly.
Perfect. And just to talk briefly about my experiences, because I know our time is up, but with regards to external funding, I know that a lot of the time for these types of external funding awards, they can go towards funding compensation for yourself, and then the supervisor will have funding for a specific project. So funding out of the award wouldn't come to resources and material and that kind of stuff, if that's, you know, kind of helps with answering your question. So awesome. And I think,
do you have anything last minute to add, or before we stop recording?
I think I'm all good to go. Thank you to everyone who participated, and I'll pass the floor off for last remarks to Dr. Gotlieb, Brandon, or Ian.
Thank you. Yeah, no, that was great, Ryan. Thank you for helping with this and summing everything up. It's great having a graduate student's perspective on everything. Yeah, I have nothing really else to add. If you have any questions, I'll type our email contact in the chat, just because I know students may think of things after, but just feel free to kind of contact us for any matters related to, I'll send the emails for both graduate programs as well as the SURE programs. And just, if you think of anything later, feel free to contact us at any time. If you want a copy of the slides, just send me an email. I can send it to you as well.
Can I just make one comment?
Yep.
Because we've gone through one cycle of admissions, and certainly for the professional programs where you're going to a particular field, you should know as much about that field as possible so that you can make informed decisions as to whether you want to go there and whether we or anybody else is giving you the proper education. So being well informed is probably the very first step, especially when you're going into professional programs where you don't get exposed to that in general. So some of our students have had opportunities to, say, spend some time observing in a pathology laboratory or perhaps in a CE environment. It's very hard now to do that because of COVID, but things will ease up. And an alternative is if you can get hold of some videos which talk about a day in the life of a particular professional. That's very helpful.
Okay, is that everything? All right.
Yep.
I'm gonna